Guys, I hope everybody is doing well. I just wanted to do a quick video. Sometimes I feel the pull to try to talk about things, educate about things. It's not anything about being defensive or any of that, so please don't take it that way. It's literally spirit is making me feel pulled to kind of teach how spirit works, especially when it comes to cases and whatnot. And I know that we do talk about this, before every reading, but there are examples that I would like to use and things I would like to talk about just to try to get you guys to know and understand more. And this can be for, new subs or whatever. And just so I can kind of explain a little bit, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about things. I think that people think that we're going to get like every single detail and all of that. So not only that, but I think that when people like watch certain readings, they're like, well, this doesn't fit and that doesn't fit and this doesn't fit. Well, we don't know if that fits, right? So I don't know. Spirit wants me to give you this educational video, and I probably want to remember what's being said, as I usually don't when I do videos like this. So as you guys know, I this is kind of my personality. It's the way that I am, and and I like to educate and teach and make sure that people sort of understand. If they're going to be on this channel, I feel like it's important. And yes, I know my real subscribers will always get it. They'll always understand. They have more of an open mind. Totally get that. Vibe with the tribe. But regardless, I still like to teach, because even some things maybe my new subscribers don't understand. So, and I'm learning too. I'm learning all the time, constantly with every case that we do. I'm learning to say things that I should say and not question it. I'm learning a lot, because even though everything went against the realm, for instance, and for example, of the submersible, sorry, I said that wrong, submersible sub, and human remains being found inside of that and it being pulled up, everybody told me, no, there's no way. Everybody told me, no, they can't bring it up. But I know what I saw, and I know what spirit showed me, and now we have a hook pulling it out of the water. We have human remains inside, so I don't question. Sometimes I do, but I try not to, okay? And so I only have these gifts because spirit trusts me with them. And yes, I may not say things sometimes. There's certain things I don't say because I question it. For instance, in JJ's video, I literally saw a man holding him, rescuing him, and I didn't say it. So, and I'm not just telling you that to tell you that. That's you guys know that I'm honest and I will never lie about anything. And for instance, on yes, I did a reading on Nicola Bully, and it seems like that's way off. But 4 days, I kept seeing her being pushed into the water. It didn't match with my reading, so I never said anything. And so that's a whole weird case. I think that there's more to it than what's being said and all of that, but that's just my feeling on it. I'm not going to always be right, because I am a human. That's what people, they're like, oh, I just saw a comment yesterday, oh, you're psychic. You should know everything. You should know names and dates and details. No, sorry. I am literally a human that connects to another vibration. And they telepathically communicate to me. And sometimes things are literal, and sometimes they are not. Sometimes, a lot of times they're very symbolic, but I have to take what spirit gives me. So telepathically, whether they show me, say it, whatever, and I have to kind of interpret that in the best way that I can. That's why they use a lot of the ways that spirit, or a lot of the ways that I reference things and I know about things. So, for instance, whenever the merciful thing happened, I kept thinking to myself, well, I don't know if this makes sense. During the reading, I didn't feel like it was in one piece, because if it imploded or if the decompressed and all of that. And I'm like, so I don't know why I'm seeing like the skeletons in the sub. And nobody knew that, but everybody questioned it. So that's just a lesson for me and you guys to don't question anything. Just take it as it is and wait, because look, not everything that I get is going to surround the case at this present time. I get a lot of future stuff as well. So past, present, and future can play a role. Also, when it comes to cases, I can get things around the perp, around the victims, around the area, around the situation. Sometimes I get details on a friend that may lead to the perpetrator. Sometimes I get details on the family that may lead to the perpetrator. So yes, a lot of stuff maybe you don't know how to connect in Idaho for. Well, that's because you don't know everything about the situation. Also, you don't know anything in the future or anything in the past. I can pick up things at any point in his life. So for instance, I kept seeing him work with his hands over and over and over. Look, he helped his in maintenance. He helped his dad with maintenance. He was HVAC that has oil in it that works with your hands. So I don't know what an HVAC is, but I relate like oil and things to cars. Or when you work with your hands, usually whenever I get work with hands, it usually is symbolic for like working on a house or working on a car or anything that you can do that you use your hands. And in this instance, it had more than one meaning, which is he's a boxer too, so he uses his hands. So that's what I talk about, multiple meanings. And also, the word May. So May was very important in terms of the case, but also that's Maddie's middle name. So that's just an instance of how multiple meanings come into play. So I always try to perceive things correctly, but I may not. So for instance, in Idaho 4, when I felt that he lived really close, okay, that was me misperceiving the energy of feeling him close by. So me feeling him close by, the energy of that, I took it as he lived close by, but it was in reality, and this was all alleged, okay, but this was in reality that he was stalking and was always close, so his energy felt close. You know what I mean? And I get a lot of comments about the age. I said multiple times that I could not figure out an age for the longest time till Ted told me. So it was, have you ever met people that feel you're older or look older but are actually younger? It was that sort of feeling to it, okay? So Ted, he didn't look 28. Shoot, I didn't even know he was 28 until we did this reading. He always felt older to me, and he always looked older. If you look at BK, does he look like he's 28? I mean, really? He does not look like he's 28. He looks like he's in his 30s or more. So you have to remember, I am reading the energy. Sometimes people feel older but are younger, and vice versa. And I kept flipping back and forth between older and younger because look, he looks older but he's younger. And then we have Ted, and Ted's reading who says, oh, he's 28 basically, or the age I was when I was arrested, which was 28. So those are just some examples of like how this works and how you can take it. So like I said multiple times, because I had a lot of people say, well, you said he was 45, you said he was 40, like you didn't know an age. Like it's hard to read an age sometimes because of the energy of how someone feels. So he definitely looks older, feels older, has that older vibe to him. Same thing with Ted. Ted was the same way, and it could be the arrogance or whatever it is, but the dude doesn't look 28. Give me a break, he doesn't. And seeing him in a vision, he wouldn't look 28 either. But visions aren't always clear. They're kind of foggy in a way. So when it came to showing me what he looked like, I got the how he looked like separately, like they broke it down, like eyes, hairs, nose, the way that his jawline was. And they kind of referenced it to Ted because that was somebody that I knew that kind of like not only did the crime like have parallels, but the way that they looked had parallels. Now that's not to say that they look exactly alike, but it's a reference, right? Because I always explain to you guys references, like they will reference certain things to try to explain stuff. So I can get a lot around the case. So a lot of people are saying, well, with Idaho 4, you're talking about his friend Brent or whatever. If he's connected to him in any way, I will pick it up. Not only that, but that whole situation where the cops took him out happened during the time of Idaho 4. So I will literally pick up situations around the case because I pull in so much information. And that can be due to timing as well. So a lot of times I will pick up timing stuff, like and I'm going to skip around here a lot because I'm getting like reminded of like examples and stuff. So like, for instance, Delphi. Okay. I did not understand how my gifts worked for the longest with Delphi with the auto rates, but in auto rates, apparently I pick in a bunch of other cases. It's not just Delphi. That's why we switched it to live to get more direct. I did still pick up things with Delphi in the auto rates, but there's other things too, like the truck driver, for instance. I'm a little tripped out right now because the truck driver, the red hair, all of that was mentioned in Delphi. Now we have all these cases in Oregon. There's a red-haired victim, and we're looking possible truck driver according to the readings. And the timing of it, all this stuff is happening around Delphi with Rick Allen. So, and here's Neil. So that is telling me that it might have something to do with the timing. So I will get things based on timing as well. In my readings, like I call them interconnects. So I get a lot less interconnects than I used to. So when I auto write, I get a ton of interconnects. When I don't auto write, I can still get other things come in that are connected, but it's not as much as like I'm auto writing. Because when I'm auto writing, I'm very, very deep. I'm very, very deep, almost like a trance kind of thing. This is why I like to do my readings through chat, because it's just spirit and I, and there's no distractions, and I can get a lot deeper and give you a better message, in my opinion. But my lives and my videos and stuff are getting a lot better. So, it's always a learning process. It's always growing a process. I am human, and I can only give you what spirit gives me. I can't give you every detail. And the more readings that you do on it, the weaker the energy gets. We go back into Delphi, and there was so much details that I got. Even I think it was either Alan came in the very first reading, like the very, very beginning. And I'm not police, so I'm not going to go hunt down every Alan that there is, or Richard Allen for that matter. This is all alleged again, but it's not up to me, but if I was to give that information to investigators, it might have helped. However, everything has a timing. So 5 years, girls always told me 5 years. They always told me October, I think, in every reading. So it was supposed to happen at that time. Same thing with BK and his arrest, the end of December. Okay. So everything has a timing. Nothing will happen before the timing. Madeline Kingsbury, I kept thinking, she was going to be found. That one was another one I was very confused about. I think that I got I think I got an interconnect on that there was somebody in the river, which was found. There was somebody found during the time she was missing. And that's why I was a little obsessed with the river, because there was someone there, and there might be more, but there was someone that was stronger energy than hers that was directing me to the river. And she, when that person was found, everybody was like, well, it's how you describe. Yeah, because they were missing and found in the time frame that we did her reading. So sometimes that happens. For instance, another example is Quentin. Okay, in Quentin, I kept getting like, if I remember right, it was like a preserve, marshy area. It was like we had already gotten his location, and I was dumb in that reading, because literally spirit told me where he was before he was ever born. But the very last reading I did, I kept getting preserve area. Now it is marshy all around where the landfill is, right? So I can pick up things around the area. All right. So, because I'm seeing it as like I'm there. So yes, it was marshy, but I kept getting a preserve. Well, it turns out during the time that Quentin was missing, someone was like found in a preserve in a marshy area, like literally days after I got that in my reading. So you guys can see what I'm talking about. It's the timing of cases and the interconnects, if I can explain it. And not everybody works this way, but this is the way that I work. This is the way that I notice that spirit works with me. So I'm picking up cases that I don't even know about yet, and it's due to the timing of them missing at the same time, or them missing and found at the same time that the person that I'm working on is missing, if that makes sense. Now in Madeline, there was stuff, if you go back, which I need to do a validation video, like I was getting somewhere that he knew, 4 miles, and it was 4 miles from somewhere that he knew. But I was confused because I kept seeing the river, but the river was the other energy. But she was still basically in water, from what I understand, if she was in one of the culverts. But I don't know. There's conflicting things on that. I don't know what's true. The documents say culvert and other things say off the road. So I'm not really sure on that. I can't say. So these are just some examples of kind of how my cases like tie in together and how they work. So, we can't judge the information and sit there and be like, well, this doesn't match and that doesn't match and this doesn't match. Like, no one knows. No one knows. Because I could pull up information that may match something from the victim that we don't know, or something from the perp that we don't know. Like, it seems like I went back into BK's childhood, allegedly, or when he was younger, for instance, at the bar. And whenever I get information, it's not always just what's around the case. So it can be at any point in any part of this. So for instance, I kept seeing him at the bar having a drink. Think about it. Okay. It doesn't necessarily mean that night, but he got kicked out of a bar at some point and he was harassing women. Okay. Allegedly. So I was picking up on that time frame. So not everything I get is directly in this time frame that we're looking at. Spirit gives everything for a reason, even if we don't know it or understand it at the time. Sometimes things have to, happen, and we can't say, oh, that doesn't make sense because we weren't there. We don't know. And, if you look into my Into the Mind reading, that is how it's going to play out. We need to quit worrying about what the media is saying. The defense attorneys are going to have to say what they're going to have to say. They want to get him off like every other criminal. So you can't just go by that. You have to know they had enough to indict him, and they have enough to have a trial and to want the death penalty, DP, which is something that came Into the Mind before this ever came out. So, because I kept seeing the same, the same fate as Ted Bundy. And they kept switching back and forth, showing me BK in court, showing me Ted Bundy in court, like back and forth. So that told me that there was parallels also to the trial and what happens at the end of the trial. And I think I mentioned the DP in the reading, asking if that area had one. Not that it would be electric chair, because obviously they don't do that, but however they do it. So, but I was related. They related it to me as electric chair because that's what I think about when I think of the DP. Does that make sense? So it comes across as things that I relate to, and they will show me also cases that are very similar, that I have watched like on true crime or whatever, and I know about. They will show me those cases to like kind of reference things. So I won't always perceive everything correctly. It's kind of like I will give the idea of what it could mean, but it might not mean that. It might be something completely different, because look at the sub. Like, I was thinking, okay, yeah, did this really lost the pressure and fell and all of that? Like, I don't know science and what an implosion is. At the time I didn't know, but that now I've learned. And sometimes they communicate things really new to me. So now I know and I understand. But at the time I was like, huh? And me seeing like the skeletons in the sub like didn't make sense. And everybody told me no. But look. So we always have to come and just trust spirit. If you're going to be part of this channel, we have to trust that what they're giving is a reason that they're giving it. Back to Idaho 4 and just certain things that came in. It's not all going to fit. It's not all going to fit BK. They're going to give me other evidence. They're going to give me evidence. They're going to give me things again around the timing, around the situation. And it comes in mixed up, right? Because I connected to different victims at different times. And so sometimes, like, for instance, when they mention the stuff that a lot of people say connects to Brent, we don't know if that connects to BK or not. It could. But if he really knew him and if he lived in the area, it would be like, okay, go find this guy and you're close to that guy. Now, I do have to mention something here. So Ethan's rating got all screwed up in Idaho 4. And that's because now I realize I can't do live readings anymore. We didn't know at the time that I can pick up chat without reading chat, and almost like a mind read. Literally, if so many people are talking about one thing, it overtakes the reading. I had it happen earlier when people had their ideas of who was involved and I had to shut it out, but it screwed me up really bad. I did not know at that time that that's why I was getting that, because I was getting like, people that they were thinking was doing it. And I'm thinking, like, why am I seeing these people? I know they're not involved. Why am I seeing them? It had to do with the chat talking about them and putting that energy out. Mind is very powerful. And when a lot of people get together and talk about things, it can create an energy and actually send me telepathic images. It happens. Trust me. Just ask my friends that talk to me. I read their minds all the time. So in the Into the Mind reading, I was going really well. We were talking about having authority and all of that. Somebody mentioned Hannah in the chat. Okay, I could have picked up Hannah because that was literally Maddie's roommate. It was going on around the time of the situation. And it confused me and it threw me for a loop because it did not match the rest of the readings. And I'm like, I am confused. I don't understand this. A lot of the stuff I said was not serious. I was just trying to mull it over in my mind as to why I was getting this when before it didn't match. Like nothing I got before matched that. But it could be the fact of the bullying. It could be the fact of she was Maddie's roommate at one time. And it could be the fact that she was coming in. But also, I learned later that they were talking about it in the chat. That's why Ethan got mad and left. Not mad, but frustrated, I should say. Because Spirit doesn't really get mad, but it was more like a frustration. And they were so loud in the chat with their minds and talking about Hannah that I could not hear him over them. So that is the reason why we no longer do live readings. That is the reason why we now do just recorded readings and why that reading was so screwed up. The beginning of the reading was great and going well, but I think if you watch the chat, you'll see at the time I mentioned Hannah, it was being talked about in the chat. And I don't read the chat. You can ask everybody, like, I don't read the chat. It was literally what I picked up. So that's why, like, I don't like to know anything about cases. I don't like to know anything about anything really, because it can skew my readings. And when the sitters sit for me, I try to have them have a clear mind, because anything that they think I can pick up on as a situation. So they try to really clear their mind with that. So that is something we have to keep in mind. Now, as far as, I've already made a video on like why you don't get why sometimes I get names and sometimes I don't, and not all the names that I get are the perp. So that's why it's a little confusing. I can get first and middle, but I can also get those around him with a name, or those involved in the case with the name, or like a total another case. Like that's why sometimes I don't like to say names, because like sometimes they fit and sometimes they don't. And people will start looking for that perp. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's the perp. Like, for instance, I got Brian. But did we ever know that there was going to be a Brian? No. However, if I was working with investigators and I said, look, I'm getting a Brian, and it matched up with all the evidence they had, that would be different. But so I also got, there was other people other names that I picked up that were relevant around the case. And around the people. Like they did have a friend with Ski in the last name, but at the same time, a serial killer was arrested that had Ski in the last name. You see my interconnects? And it had to do with the timing, because they arrested him at the same time that this was going on. It's hard to understand. I know. I work a little bit differently, but we are noticing the timing of things. And how even a lot of my auto writes, certain things can fit multiple things. I have a list of words, and I've had Broadway hit multiple cases. I've had other names hit multiple cases. I don't know how to put that out, because I haven't added to it in a long time. I don't know if I should just do a video and wrap it out or what, because there was just, I had Broadway on my list like from years ago. It just hit the case with the elderly people on Broadway. So I never know where it's going to fit. It's all been random. And actually, I haven't gotten random stuff like that in a long time. But for a while, I was just picking up random words and things like that, or being pulled to certain areas on the map, and it ends up fitting a case later. Like, I don't know where it's going to fit. I never know where it's going to fit. And just like this Titanic thing. Okay. And then the submersible going down, like we're taking it as, okay, yes, they went down. Well, they were looking for the Titanic, and that could be why I got that. But later on down the road, if they are making a Titanic cruise ship, something may happen to it. And that can interconnect and mean, I could have picked it up, but it means more than one thing. It's the best way that I can say it. I know a lot of people say, well, or I have people come on like, well, you explain all this so that you're right no matter what. There's things that I get that there's no way I could have known at any point, that you guys don't even know until it happens. I mean, even for Delphi, I was getting like the undergarments, and it turns out that there was some taken. A knife came in multiple times in that. So there are lots that's going to fit that case, that and in the other cases that we don't know about yet, right? So we can't jump to conclusions and be like, oh, this doesn't fit, that doesn't fit. All I can give anybody is what spirit gives me, and trust it, and hope that I am perceiving it correctly, because again, sometimes it's hard to interpret and sometimes it's not literal. Like I have a hard time with my cards because I'm not used to working with cards. So intuitively I have a hard time with what they mean that they're not literal. There's like false person for the organ 6 that we just did. Like that could mean someone that they thought was somebody else. Like, and it came in, there was social media and stuff, so it may be like a catfish situation or something like that. I didn't think about that before, but I think about it later, because I literally sit here and think about stuff. And like for Madeleine McCann, I'm so confused on that case because everything is not as clear as I would like it to be, you guys. Seriously, I have to put the puzzle pieces together because that's just the way it works. We're not supposed to know everything. We're still supposed to have like surprises and things like that. What I give can help, and it can help bring closure and help bring insight, but it's not going to solve a case. That's not what I'm here for. I'm not law enforcement. Now, if you put some of the stuff together with what I get to law enforcement, that's a little different. But so like with Madeleine McCann, like I got stuff on the guy like no one knew about. And that's why the cops were eager to listen when somebody sent my stuff to them. Like, I got stuff about his areas that he had and stuff like that. But yeah, when I pulled the cards for the first time, they didn't match. And I don't understand it. So, I might have to do another reading on that. And I you know what? There's certain cases I'd like to pull cards on. I only use the cards for validation, but it's interesting because it usually matches the reading. And that's all new to me. So and bringing that in is something that is like, it validates what I get, but it's new and using them. So be patient with that. But I just think I wanted to make this video to try to explain, because I really don't think that people like get how this works. Like, I mean, and I know that there's ignorance out there. Like, I'm gonna get trolls. I get that. Because people can't wrap their minds around certain things that I get and certain things that I do, or certain things that spirit gives me. For instance, this stuff with the sub, like nobody knew about that. Like you cannot say that I got that from anywhere, So, and when you compile all that together, we have to realize how many more times spirit or I, because I'm interpreting, they're always right. It's me that gets it wrong because I might misinterpret things or let my mind get in the way, which can happen sometimes, which I try not to. I try, like when you're channeling, you're supposed to be able to put your mind out. And sometimes when I do pause, I'm sitting there like making sure that it's not my mind, because things come in the form of thoughts. And so sometimes it's hard to decipher like what are my thoughts and what are spirit's thoughts, especially when the information is very confusing when it's coming in or what I'm seeing. So I'm going to work on just telling you guys what I see and just leaving it. I might say, well, it could mean this or that, but this is what I'm seeing. Because I'm noticing that a lot of times I do perceive it correctly, but sometimes my perceptions are not what they're trying to say. It means something completely different. So, and when it comes to like location and stuff, it's the way that I work is I'm there and I'm trying to, and I'm channeling all this because I feel really like right now, but I feel really drained all of a sudden. Let's just say it like that. But when I'm channeling, I'm trying to like interpret what they're giving me, and again, they're giving me symbolisms. They're giving me little videos that aren't really clear. It's more like fuzzy, like a fuzzy video, like things aren't crisp clear. And sometimes I can actually kind of try to get certain visions. Like when I was trying to see BK, I couldn't see his full face together, but it was like, let me get each of like what his eye color is, what his hair color is, like who we can relate him to, kind of thing, you know. And so spirit will give me those types of references, but I'm trying to interpret it best as I can for you guys, because again, it's videos, it's symbols, it's words, it's it's not always clear. In some cases, like, they won't give me a lot. In some cases they'll give me more, and it seems like the cases that are about to be solved I'll get more on, and cases that aren't, I don't get as much. Like, it just has to do with timing, guys. Everything happens in a time frame and a timing. So people get found when they're meant to be found. They go to jail when they're meant to go to jail. Like, it's all laid out blueprints and astrology charts. And that's why a lot of times the crime astrology charts are very accurate for when certain things happen, because it's already kind of predestined. And the girls called it a long time ago when it came to Delphi, and they called it when it came to Idaho. So I'm trying to think if, like, there's been any other, like, questions that we have, but I'm always down for you guys to ask questions, and I can do videos on them, just to try to help people to understand. Because look, I feel like that people like me are supposed to educate on how this works from what we can understand, because we're never going to know exactly how it all works. Like, we are just humans that are connected to a higher vibration. So whenever your vibration is low, you have a harder time connecting. Whenever there's a lot of chitter chatter in your brain, you have a harder time connecting. So we are just humans that connect to a higher vibration. We're tuned in a radio. We are not God. We are not the all-knowing beings, mystical being. I'm not a mystical being. I just have gifts that I try to help with. That's it. And according to my astrology chart, it's destined for me to do this. So that's why I do it. I don't do it for any other reason other than it's a passion, it's a purpose, and it's my soul path, or I wouldn't be doing it. We are never where we're not meant to be. We are always where we're meant to be. And I mean, if you guys have watched the astrology stuff, you would know that this is my path, this is my purpose, and I'm just trying to do the best that I can. Does it get stressful? Hell yeah, it gets stressful, because sometimes I see things and I have to remind myself, that that's their soul contract. That's happened. There's nothing I can do about it. Like, that's going to happen. There's nothing I can do about it. Like, it's stressful. It's hard, because then, as much as I try, and I do have gotten a lot better to not allow trolls to bother me, because I just tell them, like, you're low vibrational, and maybe one day you'll be more open-minded, and I know that the more that I get right, or the higher I vibrate, or whatever, there's going to be trolls come after me. I get that. Doesn't mean that I don't like to tell them off every once in a while. It feels pretty good to do that. It's empowering, and that's sometimes why I do it. But sometimes I I just get a little frustrated. So I think out of all of this, I think the trolls are the hardest stress, because I get very protective over spirit. It's not of myself, but it's of spirit. I get protective over the victims and what the victims are telling me. So if the victims are showing me things and then I get told I'm wrong or whatever, maybe I'm wrong, but spirit's not wrong. And I am very protective over spirit. So if I come off as defensive or anything like that, it's because of spirit, because I am defending spirit, or I am defending one of my girls. Like, that's how I look at things. They are my family. They help me out. Don't talk crap about my girls. If you don't like the way that I channel, get the F out. But as we have talked about numerous times, because there's also comments saying, well, why do you channel with someone? I like it better without. Look, as I say in the beginning of every single video, the reason why I like to have a sitter, and we have noticed that it works best that way. We've tried multiple ways, as you guys have known. I've done auto writes. Okay. People didn't like that, but and I got more interconnects with that. I didn't really, it's okay to do it that way, but I feel like it's more accurate this way. We've done lives, but I unfortunately pick up on the chat, and it's unfortunately too distracting. And I can't do it this way, because I'm literally just sitting there like, okay, I'm talking to myself. Like, I could do it, but it's just, trust me, it'll be more boring, and it won't be as accurate. The reason why I use a sitter is it's the energy flow. Okay, bouncing off of one person onto another. having that feedback, even if they just say yes. Like my sitters do not need to know every part of the case. I don't expect them to. I don't expect them to sit there for hours and know every part of the case and validate everything. I don't expect that. I don't need that. I get what I'm getting and I'm trusting what I'm getting. I just need them to bounce off of, for the energy to flow. So, and sometimes their energy will help my energy. So that is why I have a sitter. We are noticing, if you look back, like, don't fix what ain't broken. Okay? Because when we started doing this, I think it was around Quentin, if I remember right, and blew that case out of the water. Then we had Idaho 4, blew that case out of the water. You know, every case that we've had a sitter for has been very clear, very concise, and very accurate. So we're not changing it. If you guys don't like sitters, I don't know what the hell to tell you. This is the way that I work. This is my channel, and this is how I get the best information. So be nice to my sitters, and if you don't like it, you can go somewhere else. But this is how I work, and this is how we see that I work best. I mean, if you look back, it all speaks for itself. And Spirit gave me that idea for a reason. So Spirit gives me these ideas. It gives me an idea to come out here and talk about it, because one day I was like, Tammy, let's try this. I'm giving you, if I give you a reading, like maybe, and you can validate, like maybe the information will flow better. That wasn't my idea. That was Spirit's idea. So no more comments about that. Okay. And hopefully, you know, people will understand that. I do explain it in the beginning of every reading. I'm not sure why it's a problem. I'm not sure why you would just want to sit here and watch me jibber jabber and try to get information when I can get it so much easier with the sitter. Just trust the process, okay? I do things the way that I do them for a reason. A lot of what I do is spirit guided. Coming on here tonight talking to you is spirit guided. And even though I'm like dirty. And so just know that, okay? I'm trying to think if there's anything else, because at the end of this video I'll be like, oh man, I should have mentioned that. But basically, you know, I can pick up a lot of stuff, and it's not always at the present time of the case. It can be at any point. So, you know, a lot of people were saying, okay, well, BK's he's not like a hefty guy, but he used to be. Remember when he weighed a lot? So I can see them at any point in their life. I can pick up things at any point in their life. Him working with his hands doesn't mean right now. The security guard doesn't mean right now, although the police also played into it because he wanted to be a cop. So there's two meanings for that. So again, there's multiple meanings. Security guard, the cop, the badge. There we go. Two meanings for that. So that's what I mean when things can have multiple meanings. And same thing with the hands and stuff like that. So I can see them at any point in their life. I can explain things at any point in their life. Like, because when you put everything together, it builds a picture. You have to put it all together to build that picture. And like I always tell people, like, okay, he lived 15 minutes away. That's not hella close. It's not hella far. But again, he was stalking a lot. So his energy always felt close. That's so hard to miss. I mean, that's easy to misinterpret. That's hard to read. When you feel someone's energy like right there, it makes you feel like they live right next door. You know what I mean? That's how I took it. That he lived really close because his energy was like right there all the time, which now makes sense, right? But that was me misperceiving, and that's what I'm trying not to do anymore. I'm just going to say, like, I feel his energy really close. That's what I'll say from now on. So part of it is the way that I try to help you guys understand what it could mean, but maybe I shouldn't do that so much. So do I feel that anybody else is involved in this situation? No, I don't. I haven't seen anybody else. He doesn't come off as the type that would have a partner, allegedly. And I pulled cards on him. I got serial killer twice. I got reptilian, and I can't remember what else, but I did pull an accomplice card. So then I pulled cards on the accomplice card, and I got family. So unknowingly, I feel like they were accomplices. Allegedly, unknowingly. I don't think they did it on purpose. You know, like maybe with, I don't know if it's raining outside or what. Like, I don't know it with, I don't know. It doesn't come in like it's like it was on purpose or anything like that. Okay, so don't take it that way. And this is just what I pulled with cards. But I've never seen anybody else. Okay, he's too arrogant. I get the Ted Bundy. Yes, could he have done it himself? Definitely. A lot of serial killers have. Ted Bundy has. I mean, this was literally almost a copycat of the sorority, which is what I originally thought when I first got it. He tried to have 4 victims. He didn't. So do I feel that BK was allegedly like copycatting? Yeah, I do. I feel like he is also testing the system. And we don't know what evidence they have. So you guys just chill. Because I promise you, when you put it all together, it's going to paint a better picture than what you guys are realizing. So just chill with that and just let the evidence come out. You guys will see. So, I mean, I think we know by now to trust spirit. I'm learning all the time to trust spirit. All the time. I'm like, well, damn. Like, they said that and everybody else told me no. So, sorry, guys. I'm not going to be listening to you anymore. I'm just going to listen to spirit because, you know, I do that anyways and I get defensive over spirit, but everybody told me it wasn't possible for there to be human remains and it wasn't possible for them to pull it up. But here we are. So, yeah. Spirit reigns supreme and spirit knows all. Although they were not going to give me all the details because it doesn't work like that. We can't know everything. We have to be surprised. There's enough for validation and to help with cases and whatnot, but things are going to happen as they're going to happen anyways. And I'll get to the cases I'm supposed to get and get the information I'm supposed to get on them. Like and I that doesn't mean I don't push for more information because I do, but sometimes when I do that, I can pull in other cases. So I try not to. Like I know sometimes I try to get a name because once you set that bar, like with Delphi, when you get a first and last name and you set that bar, like people expect it all the freaking time. But I'm telling you, I know why they did that. The girls know that I worked 10 for over 5 years on that case. They know that I did multiple readings with them and talked to them multiple times. They also knew that he was going to be arrested in October. And so May was the perfect timing for me to get it. Because he was going to be arrested that year. I mean, they'd given me Alan and Richard before, but to bring it in together, there was timing for that. Now, how the other stuff comes into play, I don't really know. Maybe he saw him at, I mean, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know what he did. We don't know what they did. We don't know, like, as far as church and clergy and all that. Clergy could also mean legal system. Like, I don't know. It's all in how we perceive it. Like, so in my mind, these people, I already know what spirit has showed me. Now we have to, innocent until proven guilty, let the evidence speak for itself. But in my mind, and what spirit has showed me, I'm trusting that. And I'm going with that. Because if we look at the record here, spirit's batting pretty high. Not me, spirit. Spirit's batting pretty high. So I'm just going to keep trusting them and doing the best that I can and trying to like explain how this works. And hopefully people understand and get it, because there's a lot of, like, when I reposted the Idaho 4 readings, I got a lot of, well, this doesn't fit, that doesn't fit, this, like, you don't know what fits. You don't know everything about him. You don't know everything about the victims. You don't know everything about the situation and what's around it, around the area. Because like I can pick up, like I was saying, I could pick up other cases in the area at the same time. Yeah, maybe I did pick up Prince Energy. I don't know if he was passed or not at the time, but if he's stuff happening around Idaho in that time, I'd pick it up. That's just, and Spirit shows me that for different reasons. They show me what they show me for a reason. Like I always tell people when we do readings, like I'm psychic and it's been proven, but I don't know everything about your life, everything about your situation. Like I can only give you what Spirit gives me. I don't predict like certain things, and I just try to trust spirit, and I even need to get a little bit better at that, because sometimes I question, like when I saw the skeletons in the sub, like I really questioned it, and then people telling me it didn't make a difference. I was like, I don't get this, but watch, something's gonna happen. So that's what we got to do, is watch and wait and see how things play out. Remember that spirit is trying to give puzzle pieces to a larger puzzle. So whatever is involved in that puzzle piece, whatever's involved in those puzzle pieces, they also try to give validation. So they will mention things that are out there but I promise you guys, I don't watch things. Like, my girls will go and look up stuff for me. Like, if I know too much about a case, I won't work it. Like the Murdoch case, the only reason I worked that case was because everybody wanted me to. But they're like, oh, well, you've seen the child. Dude, I'm not going to sit down and watch a freaking 10-hour trial or however a week-long trial. I don't have time for that. Like, I don't have time for it. People are going to tell me what they said anyways after I do the reading, or validate it or whatever. I only did that because people would not leave it alone. Same as Steven and all of that. Like, I try to stay away from cases, and if I know too much, I won't work it. And that's just the way that I am, because it will taint the reading. So literally, like, if you guys send me cases, do not tell me anything about the case. I don't want to know. Because then if I get it, I'm like, well, am I getting that because you told me, or am I getting that because Spirit's giving that to me? Because again, sometimes it's hard to tell, like I tell you guys. So, I don't know. I think I've rambled long enough. I was just trying to think if there's any like thoughts or any last thoughts. Because I'm kind of getting spacey headed right now. But they're giving puzzle pieces to make a bigger picture. So they're going to give us little puzzle pieces for everybody's lives and the situation around it and the timing around it. It's part of validation. It's part of finding the perp. It's part of finding a body. It's just part of it. You got to put those puzzle pieces together and make a big picture. That's basically what it is, and that's how it works. It's not usually direct. It can be, obviously, because we've been shown by Spirit that they can be direct at times when they feel like it. So whatever I get is what I get. I do not know everything. I am not God. But I had a lot of people saying, well, this doesn't match him and that doesn't match him and yada yada. This is why. Like, it can match like things going on around. And then, like, for instance, I took, someone working on the house. I took it as maybe the perp had done that, but actually it was just her dad that did it. It was changing the locks, and that's what Spirit was trying to show me. But I'm like you guys, I try to relate everything to the perp, but not everything is related to the perp. Like G, okay, in Ethan's reading, it's not for Gwen as part of that situation, Hannah's situation. It's not that. It's for the G apartment that he was in. Okay. Which we now know. But again, that whole situation with Hannah, like I said, it could have been because she was related to Maddie, but honestly, I think I was picking up on the chat. And that's my mistake. I won't do live readings anymore because of that, because it really did interfere with the reading, and it really did interfere with what Ethan was trying to tell me, and he got frustrated. And that's what it was like, why is he so frustrated? Why did he leave? It was because I couldn't hear him over the chatter in the chat and the thoughts in the chat and everything being shot at me at once. Like, it overtook the reading like it did earlier with people thinking that Jack was involved in all of that. Like, it took over the reading because I knew Jack wasn't involved. I thought maybe he's seen somebody or something, but I knew he wasn't involved. So, but people kept talking about him, and so it started to overtake the reading, and I was like, why am I seeing them? I know they're not involved. Why? But I'm learning all the time, like you guys, as far as my gifts work. So this is the way that they work. And this is just from my understanding and the way, from doing this for so long, from doing this for 11 years. Like, I am nowhere where I was 11 years ago. If we look back, I still got good information back then. Like, look at Gannon. Although Gannon's was all over the place, it was still right. So, when I was getting pulled way up the map, I couldn't realize, like, why am I getting pulled way up the map? Like, way the heck up the map. And everybody told me, no, he's in Colorado. And I'm like, no, I'm getting pulled way up the map. And I think I picked up on multiple areas where he was. And then in the end, like the very last reading I did, and for a while before that reading, I was getting pulled way up the map. So that was Spirit trying to tell me, he was way up there. So, I need to learn to, I always have a problem with listening to people, and that's my problem. Like, I need to block out everybody saying, no, it's not possible. No, it's not them, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to give what Spirit gives, and we'll interpret it the best way that we can. And it'll come out how it's supposed to be interpreted anyways, eventually. Because I think we'll see a lot of validation coming in Delphi, a lot of validation coming in Idaho for, like, a lot of the cases that I work. Like, I think we'll see validation. Some stuff we might not be able to fit. I might be wrong sometimes. Like, I'm not gonna be right on every case. I wish I was like that good to, like, never be wrong, but I'm human and I'm going to be wrong, or I'm going to misinterpret. Like I said, it's it's not spirit, it's me. Like me misinterpreting or misunderstanding what they're trying to say, I guess, is the best way I can describe it. So I hope that you've made it through my jibber jabber this whole time, and this was an educational video on how things work. Trying to think if there's any last words, but I do want to say thank you for liking, subscribing, sharing, being here, learning, raising your vibration, sticking around, because look, we're here to learn on this planet, whether that be from me or someone else or the way that I do readings. Like, we are meant to learn. And so I am learning all the time. You guys are learning all the time. Let's learn together. Okay. And be nice, and don't be so rough with things. Like, let's just take the information and wait and see. Now that we know and you know and understand how it works, for those of you that watch this, let's just take the information and see what happens. That's all we can do, right? Because again, we don't know. They know, but we don't know. The only ones that know is spirit. That's like, I get a lot of I got a lot of argument. And that's one thing. One more thing I want to mention. Please don't argue with what spirit gives me. And I'm saying that on like just I'm not saying that for any specific question or comment or whatever. Just please don't argue with what spirit gives me. Like, I got a lot of argument in the airplane one. Look, that was an impromptu reading, and that's why it's so kind of wild in the background, because we were literally partying for New Year's when Tammy brought it up and I started getting images on it. And when I get image on something, I'm going to tell you what it is. So I got what I got. I don't care what any of the conspiracy says. I don't care what anybody thinks. That's what spirit showed me, and they were the ones that were there. And I'm going to always say that. Like, that's what they showed me. And people can say it's wrong all they want, but in the end, just like the sub and just like a lot of other times, spirit is always right, and I'm the one that can misinterpret. And sometimes it's hard to understand what they're talking about if I've never done anything like that before. Like, as far as airplanes and like submarines, like I don't know the like how things work underwater and all of that. So they try to show me and they kept relating it to an airplane because I'd done a reading on it. So they referenced that because I'd done a reading on it. And how they would need oxygen mask if a plane were to decompress like that. So they were relating it that way. And that's another way how it works in relation. Like, this is how, this is why I get what I get. They're explaining it as something that I can relate to, like an airplane, to the sub. So they will, it doesn't mean it's specifically that, but if they're relating it to something to try to explain it to me, if that makes sense. And I get a lot of that. So if I get defensive, it's defensive over spirit, not of me. It's nothing to do with ego or anything like that. It's just, I know what I got. I know what spirit showed me, and I'm going to trust it. And I'm sure something will come out eventually that kind of validates it. Does that mean the whole reading and everything is going to fit? Probably not. Or we probably won't ever know what all fits, but the basics and most parts will fit. So, and again, I'm always learning. It's only going to get better from here. That's all we can say. The more practice makes perfect, right? So again, thank you for liking, subscribing, being here. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Oops, let's see. Let's put the banner up. I almost forgot it. The brand. See you next time.